That is not a weather vane. That is a perching duck. Okay, first things first, let's get this nut. Next, we need to move some valves. Alright, we removed our spacer that seemed to have gotten loose in the bilge someplace. And we moved our valves around, so we're going to go flush the front motor. In the process, I think I'm going to hook a timing light up to it and maybe check the carburetor, see if it's got any gas. I saw it out on the water and it had 6 pounds, so I don't know what's going on there. Nothing drives you more nuts than to get at the boat ramp and have issues, than to come back and find it turnkey, bang, vroom. I got some real decisions to make, and any of them are not going to be pretty. Once again, we get to prove how incompetent we are by proving that this is real race boat life. When I took the fuel pressure regulators off, apparently I took a bolt out of the intake. It's on the cooling side also. Lucky enough, there's no water in the oil. As soon as I saw that, I rolled right into the shantytown there. Just found 2 washers sitting there also. I wonder what else is floating around down there. We found that spacer earlier. That spacer is part of the whole thing too, because they kept it off the block, the fuel pressure regulator bracket. So we got a little RTV here. We're going to smear some on here. Of course, smear some on my hand, which I was trying to avoid being. Only need to put in 1 bolt, and I usually wear half a tube whenever I do anything. Stick one of these intake bolts in here, which I have a multitude of, and we're going to get this thing cranked down. And now, just out of pure paranoia, we're going to go back and take a look at the second motor in the back there and make sure we didn't screw up doing the same thing. Because we're paranoid like that. Must be different. Alright, well, our paranoia didn't pay off this time, which is a good thing. You know, it's great to not actually have what's your most biggest fear happening. So that's a plus and a negative, I guess, on our intuition. But it was set up a little different now that I think about it. But I'm not really sure why the front motor was set up like that, but it was. And I made a boo-boo. Sorry. Now I'm going to just fix the other stuff. Looks like we may have a drunken visitor. Real chatty. Just came up and pushed me in the back. Someone's not happy. Yeah, just go away. Go on, walk away. Alright, little bird, get over yourself. I'm moving. Just don't be messing with the boats. Meow. You're not happy, are you? You know, if you touch me, you go to jail.
Alright, you do have to realize this is my garage. So, let's just part ways.
You're a friendly little guy, but you can't sleep in the garage. Welcome back to another episode of Raceboat Life. Man, that's a big Hale. You know that's a lot of rain all at once. The woods is soaked. That don't happen right away. But, I mean, it's got puddles in the middle of it. I bet you we end up with a big puddle in the front yard. That was crazy. I told someone it was hitting the house. Just had massive downpours here. Thunder, lightning, and, you know, the typical. Nothing big. I mean, I'm starting to feel like Noah's flood wasn't a big deal. Okay. I didn't mean that. So, here we are, sitting in Shantytown, listening to Mother Nature threaten the end of the world, apparently. Sounded so nasty. Man, that's some good stuff. And while we're just sitting here, we are debating what to do. And last episode's test drive really didn't work out so well. And it's never, ever gone that bad. And we kind of had another surprise in store this summer, which was going to be our big time purchase. And our big time purchase was pretty much going to wipe our budget out for the race boat this year. Sadly, priorities are overtaking desires. So this is where we're at. We've always had to make choices with this boat. It's not like we have like a open checkbook and just can go out and buy the biggest, best and everything and just run with it. It's been a long journey, and some of the stops along the way were not necessarily all in the same direction, if you know what I mean. We bought 454s for it, Gen 5s, blue Merkers or motors, just tame junk basically. And we used those just to get it off land. I mean, it had to get it in the water and run. If we would have built K-Kiefer 454s for it, or even found them back then, the boat probably would have sat for another 2 years before we would actually have been able to get it done. Just due to cost and knowledge and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's like the song says, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And in our case, we kind of need something, and we know it. I mean, we actually know where the twin 427 Ford side oilers are. The problem with it is just one of them costing, meaning to buy one of those motors from this gentleman, which is deservingly, he deserves the money he's asking for them. I built two K-Kiefer 482s. So it's always been trade-offs. And to build two of those Fords, I probably have close to what I have in the whole boat. and it's not feasible. So I have to make trade-offs. Everything's a trade-off, because it's either that or put it in the backyard and stack up a bunch of parts in my garage, and it never sees the light of day again, because it will take forever. Because I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I am still building upon, what I started. I mean, if something comes up and something needs to be changed out, hey, I'm more than willing to do it. You saw it with fuel pumps. But we have to make decisions that keep us going forward, as opposed to being stopped and doing nothing. So, and I think our little friend just showed up again. What are you doing? What are you doing? We're shooting now, man. We can't have you in here. Hey, he's on the loose. He's running. He's going for the garage too. Damn it. Hey, stop it. So basically, the conclusion is we have to make some choices. And like we said, we're not very happy about them, but they have to be done. Which brings us to these two guys. Some people have elves on a shelf. We have carburetors on a shelf. I'm also coming to the conclusion that I'm done with Holleys. One of the issues with me is yeah, you can fine tune these things all day long, but it takes the better part of a day to do a test drive. It's not like I can go out, do some fine tuning, slap it on a car, go run it up the street, and whether it's done at 4 in the morning or done at 4 in the afternoon. And you gotta take into account the time it takes to load this thing up, drag it to the park, drop it off, take it out, bring it back. And I just don't have the patience to sit here and think, okay, let's just keep tweaking on these Holleys until I get them right. So I think I'm going to move on to old Vic's setup over here, but a newer version. As for originality, the Holley 850s are not original to the boat anyway, so it's not like I'm taking something off that was actually there. So I really don't have a whole lot of hard feelings about making them sit on a shelf. I really do hate having a defeatist attitude about it. I mean, but I've been fighting with these Holleys for years, and it seems like an uphill battle that I can't afford to win, and I need to sue for peace, so to speak. And I'm sure it's come across in the other videos that I'm not the biggest fans for Holleys in boats anyway, so I think the decision is almost made. I can't promise, but I'm working on it. Here is some of my reasoning behind my train of thought, and why, in my humble opinion, this is only my humble opinion, in the situation that I am in, because I know you Holley fans out there, you're all going to blast me anyway, but in my humble opinion on boats, these are very major flaws in the Holleys to begin with. As I said, just let this represent this 650 here. And it's basically the same design. It's just a few more pieces are added on this side to make it bigger, and of course, it's bigger holes. But it's the same design. But on both sides of the 850s in the boat now, you have a metering block here to here. There's a gasket right here. There's a gasket right here. Then on the bottom, of course, you have an accelerator pump, which there's another gasket right there, and there's a diaphragm in there. And of course, this is on the other side, same thing. And then you have the double pumper fuel lines that come off basically here and here. And all those points, because again, in our situation, the 24 doesn't go out as much as you would think other normally run boats.
We've already had problems with bowls leaking before, and we've had to retorque them, and they're supposed to be reusable gaskets, and for some reason, you know, they dry up and they just, bad situation in a boat. When it comes to Edelbrocks, there's nothing below the fuel line that can leak. This is all one big cast body. That's a plus all by itself. And again, this is my situation. I've had terrible luck with Holleys. I just really have. They seem to be right, and then they seem to be wrong. Then you make them right again, and then they're wrong again. And in our situation, we can't really afford trip after trip. I mean, 3 or 4 trips could be a summer. We really need to have something that's set and forget. We have a lot more research to do yet, though. Now we're just trying to figure out how much of our old system is going to work. Which, our old system, we mean our new fuel system. And the costs that will occur if we do make the change. Alright, we removed our Alright, we moved our spacer. We didn't move it, we removed it.
Well, there, lifers, I told you I'd tell you when I'd screwed up. Okay, this is sadly, priorities are taking ahead. Let's do that again. And as for originality, I mean, those things aren't original anyway. Let's do this backwards. As for originality, those things, I want to use carburetors would have been better. I mean, I really do hate. So here's some. So get the hell off of me, bug. Out of here.